Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to show you guys how to set up a bioactive enclosure for white tree frogs. White tree frogs are really cool frogs. They are pretty much the best pet frog. They're really handleable. They don't really jump a lot. I don't really well, they do jump a little bit, but I don't really handle these guys as much, and they are pretty chill. And if you like tree frogs, you might like next week's video where I show you how to make mini tree frogs. In about a month and a half or 2 months, we got these little frogs out of our male and our female tree frog. So to do that, we need a breeding chamber and all that stuff, and I'll show you next week how to set it up. In today's video, we're just gonna show you how I did the bioactive enclosure for these guys to live in when they're not breeding. That's my male that wants the second round of babies. So also, quick announcement, we are selling these baby frogs. We have probably we have 50 froglets, and then there's like 300 tadpoles that still have to become frogs. So if you're interested in getting any tree frogs, it can be either wholesale or it can be individual purchases for you to keep as a pet. We will do those online and at the expos. There is an expo that we're going to be selling at this month, and that expo is the Lafayette, Indiana expo. So if you are in Indiana or one of the neighbor states, you should come check it out. It's not a huge expo, but it's growing, and I think it's the first or second year that it's in here. So it's pretty exciting to see this one grow. It will be better over pass of time, and we will be selling some of the frogs, some of our geckos, millipedes, and the stuff that we sell online. So I'm gonna stop yapping for a minute, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do this bioactive enclosure that I've been talking about. So if you're interested in seeing this build, stay in the video and you'll see how it turns out. First of all, I'm going to be using 100% silicone for the back. This is for the foam to stick better to the glass. If not, there's some chances that it could just fall off and unstick to the glass. So this silicone does a pretty good job with holding it together. Also, it is important that you use gloves for this whole process of silicone and expanding foam. You don't want those things on your hands, and they are really hard to get rid of, and I don't think they're good for you either, so make sure you use gloves. The next part of this build is going to be me doing the background, which is done with foam, expanding foam from Great Stuff. It is safe for reptiles and amphibians once it's dry, so you have to wait for it to dry before you put your reptile in there. But it is also important that it is not dry before you do the next step, which is adding the sphagnum moss and the cocoa husk to the background so that it has some color. Now, my mistake was doing it while the cocoa husk and the sphagnum moss was still a little bit wet and moist. You have to do this when it is fully dry. So for the other two sides, I did use the dry sphagnum moss, but still it didn't stick to the wall really well. So I think for the next build, I'm gonna do an additional layer of silicone over the expanding foam. Now I'm adding cork from a cottonwood tree, and I'm also adding a pot for the plants to go in. After I'm done with the background, I'm going to be adding some sphagnum moss and cocoa husk mix. It should be fully dry before you do this, and I didn't do this, so it started to come off in pieces. Next time, as I said before, I will not only be using dry cocoa husk and sphagnum moss, but I will also be adding an additional layer of silicone on top of the foam once it's dry out, because it will stick better to the colors that I want to give it. The sphagnum moss and cocoa husk are only for aesthetics. It doesn't really look great to have a white background, so I want it to look nice and natural. I don't want it to look artificial. That's why we're adding this fake background. Now, it's been 2 months and it's almost fully white. It has completely unstuck from it. The way I'm going to clean this enclosure for the first time after 2 months is I'm basically going to get everything out. I'm going to dry it out perfectly, and then I'm going to add some silicone to the back, make sure to stick some dry cocoa husk where it should be, and then I'm just going to do a normal cleaning. I'm probably going to put new plants because they're pretty much dead by now as well, and I think they died because the frogs were stomping on them all the time, and also I'm not sure if they had proper drainage, so I'm going to make sure that I have better drainage in the plants. Now for the next part, I'm going to be doing the other two sides of the enclosure for the background. I've only seen backgrounds with one side as the background, and since this is a hexagon, I'm going to be doing 3 of the sides. I was debating with myself if I should do 2 or 3 sides, but since I want it to be more symmetrical, I'm going to do 3 sides. 2 would be a little weird since there is a front opening door. It would be really hard to just do 2 sides. So I decided to do 3 and I went for it. Here I'm just setting up the enclosure so that I make sure that everything has stuck up to the wall properly. Once that's done, I'm going to be adding leaka balls, which are essentially just clay balls that hold humidity pretty well, and they serve as a drainage layer. Then I'm going to be adding a mesh that I cut in a hexagon form, just as the enclosure. And then I'm going to be adding some dirt, some soil, some cocoa husk, sphagnum moss, leaf litter, moss, and all those things. Now it's time for the fun stuff. I'm going to be adding the plants. I'm doing 3 on the walls and then 1 on the floor. And then there's a 4th that is kind of both. It's essentially coming out of the wall, but it goes all over the place. It's this pothos. So it's like a mix, but it's technically coming from the wall. Now I'm going to be adding some springtails and some isopods so that this bioactive is fully bioactive, and we have this cleanup crew that will take care of the frog poops and cleaning all the stuff that we don't want to clean ourselves. And then finally, this wouldn't be a frog enclosure without frogs, so we're going to be adding the inhabitants. For this frog enclosure, we're adding these two frogs that seem to be in love with each other. The male is on top of this female. I think it's a female, but we will see in a few months once we try to breed them out and see what happens. Alright guys, that is all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you like this build as much as I did. And I say did because this thing didn't last a lot. It's been 2 months since I built this, and it's pretty much destroyed by now. These are really jumpy creatures. I should have probably let the enclosure sit for a few, maybe weeks or months, and maybe that would have changed things, but I didn't do that. I was a little bit impatient. I put these guys in the same day I set it up, so it didn't last long. But hopefully next build that I do for these guys will last longer. Anyways, that is all I have for today. So if you enjoyed the video, please let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, and all those things. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.